Bob Iger saying goodbye to Disney after leading the company now for 15 years. Replacing him as CEO, Bob Chapek. Until yesterday, he was the chairman of Disney Parks and Experiences and Products. Well, now he will be stepping into some very big shoes. Joining us now to discuss, Michael Schneider is the senior editor of Variety. Joan Solzman is senior reporter at CNET. Great to have both of you with us, Michael and Joan. So this was a pretty big shock to just about everybody. We knew that the day would have to come eventually. But Joan, I want to start with you. Why was the surprise so, big? Nobody, even the deepest sourced reporters and those who are in the industry didn't know about this.
Yeah, I think the surprise was on two fronts. First of all, everyone knew that Iger's expected retirement date had been moved to the end of next year. We didn't expect to get the announcement of who his successor would be on a random Tuesday in February with no sort of premonition, no sort of inkling that it was going to be coming. It felt like it had that feeling of a scrap together needed to be done in an emergency situation sort of announcement, but there were no emergency factors that were disclosed, at least by Disney's admission, and nothing has come out in the 24 hours since. And then the other surprise is the choice. A lot of insiders, although there wasn't a lot of insider reporting about who was likely to get the land the CEO role, a lot of people assumed that after the really successful launch of Disney Plus, that Kevin Mayer, the executive in charge of that branch of the business, was the natural choice to be a successor to Iger, given that Iger has stressed over the last year how important Disney's streaming efforts are for the entire health of the business. It was a natural choice to have Kevin Mayer be the person to take over that role. And so going in a different direction, giving it to someone who's more of a company veteran, someone focused on parks and on consumer products, seemed like it came a little bit out of left field.
Michael, anything to add there? And also, I wonder, because there were so many news stories and headlines driven by the market, do you think this was a way for Disney to just kind of sneak it in there and manage a stock price a little bit?
This is a little bit of the Disney way. We've seen in the past with other surprise announcements, including 20th Century Fox, Lucasfilm, some of the other acquisitions in the past. Disney's done a very good job of keeping things like this under wraps. And so this is very much in line with what they've done in the past. So I think all of that is true. And also timing wise, this is still another year and a half before Bob Iger actually steps down. So there's a lot that still can happen. We've seen other succession plans fall apart over there. So I still, I'm going to wait and see what ultimately happens to this succession plan and other folks who are also waiting in the wings.
That's really interesting, Michael. And so further along those lines, we already know that Bob Chapek being selected means there's going to be a prioritization perhaps of the parks, the resorts, the experience that they've driven with Disney for so long. But what does this say? What does this signal in this selection about their confidence in some of the other areas of their business?
It's hard to say because they have some fantastic executives. You mentioned Kevin Mayer, also Peter Rice, who heads up television operations. These are all folks who were considered potential front runners to replace Iger, and ultimately still may be front runners down the road, depending on how long the Bob Chapek sort of reign lasts over at Disney. So I think there's still a lot of real confidence, especially in the television division, but also Disney Plus, really launched strong. And if anything, if you're Kevin Mayer, you don't now have a target on your back. You can continue to focus on building that service, which is still really in its infancy.
Joan, what we've seen from the brand of Disney over the years is they have such a strong annexation to households, and the people who drive the household spending at the end of the day are women. How long until we see a female CEO at Disney who perhaps can give a little bit more insight and guidance and really drive that next wave of innovation at the brand?
Yeah, I saw a tweet on Twitter, I think earlier today, about how every executive at Disney is now named Bob or Kevin or Peter. And there's fairness in that, and there's a reason why having maybe a female voice in the upper management of the executive ranks makes a lot of sense. I would call out, Jennifer Lee. She's the leader of Walt Disney Animation Studios. I would also call out there's Agnes Chu working on the streaming side underneath Kevin Mayer. She's someone who's leading the content efforts on Disney Plus, and so there's definitely very notable indomitable women leaders at Disney. We haven't seen them raise up through those ranks. But, we're looking at somebody taking over this. Iger's leaving after spending basically his entire career at Disney. Chapek, he has spent almost 30 years at Disney. And so when you're grooming and looking for that CEO candidate who has such a deep history in a company, it's harder to find women to fill that role just by the nature of women's role in the workforce, how you don't tend to see as many women who stay in one company for 30 years uninterrupted. Maybe that's one reason why, but Disney certainly has a lot of up and coming, very impressive executives that are female too.
Yeah, and Michael, from an industry perspective, I mean, it's just been so fun to cover Disney because Bob Iger has been such a nice guy, right? I feel like that's the overall sentiment. And I mean, just give us a sense of what this means, right, for those that are having to now be led by somebody new. What is this new Bob like? I mean, do we know anything about him? I mean, how much of this really is kind of a loss, really, for the company? I mean, it's so synonymous with the company at this point, almost to the degree of Walt Disney himself.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about the new Bob, to tell you the truth. And the thing is, what's interesting is, 15 years ago when Bob Iger took over for Michael Eisner, there are a lot of the same questions. How can this guy live up to Eisner's reign? There were a lot of sort of real skeptics out there thinking that there was no way that, he was the right guy for the job. And obviously, he proved all the skeptics wrong. And these past 15 years have been nothing short of an amazing ride for the company. And to see Disney, what it is now versus what it was 15 years ago, is astounding. So these are huge shoes to fill. And again, we'll be learning more about the new Bob in the coming days, weeks, months. But the old Bob isn't going anywhere just yet. So as one of my colleagues was saying, Dad's still there, and he's still going to be keeping an eye on things for the next year and a half.
Well, so for investors, how should they be looking at this new environment, this new realm where Dad is still going to be there? However, there is this reality setting in of a new face that they're going to have to get used to seeing and hearing from.
I think the good news is there is this transition period. So the idea is Iger is still there. He's still overseeing the creative end of things. And, hopefully the Bob Chapek is a quick learn and someone who will dive in and learn the parts of the business that he doesn't know yet. And, Disney is in pretty good shape right now. Coming off an amazing box office year, the huge launch of Disney Plus, the integration of the Fox TV assets seems to be going pretty well so far. Hulu is now fully owned by Disney. So they really have two big streaming services out there. They're in pretty good shape.
All right, Joan Salzman, who's the CNET senior reporter, and Michael Schneider, who's the senior editor of Variety. Thank you both for joining us.